didn't watch my last video, I got married, and I've actually been waiting to make this video for a long time, and I'm so happy that I finally can. I'm also getting over a cold, so I apologize if I sound hoarse this whole time, but I said I'd be here, so here I am. Let's just get right into it. These are the things that I did that took me from being someone who was just a pastime and disposable and not someone who anyone ever fully committed to being in the happiest relationship of my life with my now husband. So this is what I think changed and what I did to get there, and hopefully some of this stuff will resonate with you. Obviously, you can live a very happy, fulfilling life without marriage, but if it is something you want, then, hopefully you'll find something valuable in this. Marriage is something that I have wanted for as long as I can remember. I've wanted it more than I think anything I've ever wanted in my whole life. It's the first thing I remember wanting when I was a kid. And not just like marriage for the sake of marriage, but like a happy, loving, healthy relationship. I think a big contributing factor to me wanting that so badly was growing up in a broken home. I think, I don't know, from a very young age, like I saw my parents and what they had, and I just knew that whatever that was, I wanted the opposite. And I think that's just why I got like this fantasy in my head of just like wanting the perfect marriage, the perfect husband. And, of course, nothing is perfect, but that's a topic for another day. For now, I just want to talk about, again, what I think I started doing differently that ultimately resulted in just having a healthier relationship, not only with men, but with myself, and that just kind of making me more of a desirable candidate, I guess. So the first thing, in retrospect, I think that changed was I actually started being attracted to good men, nice guys, because I didn't realize how much of a hindrance that I was placing on myself by only going after men who I was attracted to. Essentially, I don't know how to say this, but I was attracted to the characteristics of them that I didn't want. It's the most bizarre thing, and it's really common. I was just watching Sex and the City, and if you're familiar, Carrie and Aiden. And, he comes along right after she breaks up with Big, and you know, she's in a really happy, healthy relationship with Aiden, and she's just like, I'm not happy, something's wrong, like he's too perfect, like I need someone who like treats me badly to keep me interested, you know, essentially that's what she was saying. And I just realized, like, oh my God, like I feel like a lot of women actually feel that way. I feel like that's really prevalent. So being attracted to good men, I don't really know what flipped the switch for me. I think it was just sheer exhaustion. It was just like, I think what clicked for me was kind of just looking back at my past relationships and, oh, sorry, and realizing how terrible they'd all been. And coming to the difficult conclusion that I was the common denominator in all of that. And it's not that I was a bad person. It's not that I wasn't being a good partner. It wasn't that I wasn't loyal or respectful, which, you know, is all of the things that I thought that was it. I thought that in order to be happy and healthy in love, that all you had to do was just be a good partner and give your partner all of the love that you have and to just give everything, right? I thought that that was how you got love. And in all honesty, that is partially true, but it is also, if you're not careful, how you get taken advantage of. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's very important, because that is something that I do in my current relationship. And I feel like that idea does get demonized a lot, and people tell you to like be cold and not show love, and that the less love you show, the more power you have. And I've tried that, you know, I've played the games and they don't work. The showing the love and the giving the everything, you still have to do that, but you have to, one, receive that in return. And if you're not receiving that in return, then you need to walk away, like immediately. You need to be respected. You need to have someone who is loyal to you. You need to have strong ass boundaries, like super strong. And yeah, basically, like, that is important, but you also, it can't just be that. It can't just end there. Like, you need to receive in return. You can't just give, because what that attracts is people who just want to use you. People who want all of the benefits of having someone without the responsibility of having to be a good partner. You know what I mean? Like, essentially, that's what you're allowing into your life if you're not expecting that to be reciprocated. And it's a really shitty place to be, especially long term. In order to even be attracted to good men, you have to heal your trauma around love and around men or women, whatever it is that you have trauma about. Like, if you grew up with a dad who cheated on your mom all the time, and you've developed this belief that all men are like that, all men are bad, all men are cheaters, all men are liars, then that's all you're gonna encounter in life, because life and people are just a reflection of what you believe about them. So if you believe that men are bad and men are cheaters and liars, life is only going to present you with evidence of that. It's, you know, it's like the whole law of attraction thing, if you're not familiar with that. It's become very prevalent on the internet recently. I feel like most people are familiar with the law of attraction. If you're not, it's very easy to familiarize yourself with it. The book that got me into it was Abraham Hicks. I think it is just called The Law of Attraction. But yes, you know, if you've never heard of that, then that's a really good place to start. I was thinking about making a video about it maybe, but I feel like, again, I just feel like recently it's kind of blown up and everyone just talks about manifestation and law of attraction, which is awesome, because like, it's good that people are aware of it now. But these are not new ideas, you know, they've been around for a while, and it's kind of just like people are just catching up, you know. But anyway, familiarize yourself with the law of attraction if you're not. But essentially, law of attraction just says that things that are similar attract. So if you're always thinking negative things, you're attracting those things to you. Whereas if you're thinking positive things, you're attracting the positive things to you. I know it seems really cliche and simplistic and woo-woo, but understanding this and implementing it into my life has transformed me from a shell of a person to being happier than I even thought was possible. Like, this is how bad it was. I didn't even believe that happiness was real. I didn't believe that it was attainable. I didn't believe that anybody had it. When I asked people if they were happy and they told me yes, I thought that they were either lying to me or that they were lying to themselves, because I just had such a negative view on the world and on people that I just couldn't believe that anyone was capable of thriving in such a rotten environment. Like, that's how bad my outlook on life used to be. And my circumstances and my reality reflected that perfectly. And now they reflect the opposite because I believe the opposite. So essentially, if you always have these negative beliefs and these negative thoughts about men, or, you know, the opposite sex or love, that's all that you're gonna see. You're always gonna be looking for evidence of that. If you've never heard of law of attraction, then maybe you've heard of the red car theory. Essentially that once you start looking for the red cars, you're going to see more of them. And it's not because there actually are more red cars, it's because you're just noticing them for the first time. So if you're inclined to have a negative disposition about people, then you are not only going to attract those negative people, but you're constantly going to be looking for problems. You're constantly going to be looking for the negative traits, for the other shoe to drop. You know what I mean? You're always going to be expecting the worst of people, and that is just such a miserable way to go through life. It really is. Please don't do that. My husband is, I didn't even think men like him existed. Honestly, he is everything that I have ever wanted and more, and he's the first thing I'm grateful for when I wake up in the morning. And in hindsight, I think that being through such horrible and traumatic relationships in the past, I don't think I would have known to appreciate him as much as I do if I hadn't been through the horrors of my past. Do you know what I mean? So in a way, I'm grateful for all of that. I think the second most important thing that changed for me was that I became so much less desperate for love than I had been in the past. I used to, like I said, it was the thing that I wanted the most in life. Ever since I can remember, ever since I was a kid. And so naturally, it became very important to me, a very strong desire that just kept intensifying more and more and more as I got older. And, you know, I think all of the heartbreak and all of the failure just made me want it even more, and it just turned into this like almost this like demon that was ravenous and desperate, you know? And it was just like burning a hole inside of me. It was like this void that I couldn't fill. And I kept trying to fill it with other people, and the irony was that the only person who could fill that void was me. It was that I needed to give myself the love that I was trying to get from everyone else. And I know that's super cliche and very ambiguous, and I'm gonna try to explain what I did and what changed as best as I can. I think a huge thing for me was, I've said this before, but I had a tendency to overvalue romantic love and undervalue the other types of love that I already had in my life. So like my parents and my friends, for example. It wasn't until I was forced into a position where I had to spend a lot of time with my family and my friends that I realized like a big part of it was just general loneliness. It wasn't so much that I was craving romance as much as I was just craving connection. And I realized that I was able to get that from my friends and from my family, not just from a partner. And another huge thing was just learning to be on my own and actually enjoying my own company, like finding joy in that. And to me, 10 years ago, that was such a ridiculous concept because I hated my own company. I hated being alone. Like I always needed to have someone there, or I would, get anxious and lonely and bored. But then I realized that there are so many wonderful things that I enjoy, and I got to discover that part of myself because of my loneliness. So in a way, like, I am really grateful for that as well, because it forced me into a place where I didn't have a choice. I didn't have anyone in my life to distract me from, to save me from myself, to distract me from my thoughts and my own company. And I just thought, like, okay, well, if I have all of this time on my own anyway, then I might as well just enjoy it. Crazy, right? Crazy realization. And some of the things I started to do were like, I know this is gonna make me sound like a fucking grandma, and I low-key kind of am, but crocheting. I love crocheting. And I think it was one of the first things I started doing on my own time, and playing video games as well. I love video games. Art in general. I love drawing. I love painting. I'd been like a very artsy fartsy kid / teen. And I think I lost a lot of that in like my depression and my sadness in my early 20s and my like late teens and early 20s. And I think just doing more of the things that I enjoyed as a kid, it just healed me. Like, it just really healed me. And the last thing is having really strong boundaries and like enforcing your expectations. So I think I just got to a point in relationships where like I had been so submissive and so eager to please and so quick to ignore my desires and my needs in order to keep people in my life. So I would like shrink myself and contort myself and try to make myself into what I thought somebody else wanted or what they expected of me, that I completely neglected what I wanted and what I expected. And I think that switch just flipped when I realized that I was doing all of this and it still wasn't getting me what I wanted. Like, I thought that if I just gave everything and I was just accepting and just let people treat me however they wanted and still remain loyal, and I was just whatever, I don't know, absolutely deluded. But I don't know what logic there was in that, but I just thought that somehow that would get somebody to love me and to treat me with kindness and to not leave me. I think really that was more than anything what I wanted, is just treat me however you want, just don't leave me. I think I had a deep fear of abandonment and just being alone, and I think that's what it boiled down to, is just, I would just let people treat me however they wanted, as long as they stayed, as long as they didn't leave. Oh my god, if I could go back and choke myself, because I get really like heated talking about this because I get so mad at myself. But anyway, I'm here now, and I'm a cutthroat, no bullshit fucking bitch. So, you know, thank you to that old version of myself who died so that I could live. A moment of silence for her. Okay. So, be demanding as fuck about what you want. Like, I think I told my husband, I don't know, like 3 months into dating, that I wanted to get married. And granted that our circumstance was very unique, because we lived in different countries and the only way for us to be together long term was marriage. It was just the easiest, most realistic way for that to happen. And so, you know, I wasn't like, I want to get married right away, but I said I needed for that to be like an option on the table. If this was going to go any further, because if he wasn't open to that, then I'm out, because I didn't want to get myself into something where we're like 2 or 3 years down the line and, you know, he's dragging his feet and he doesn't want to get married, and we've just been long distance for 3 years and there's no end in sight. I didn't have the time or the patience or the energy to deal with that. And so I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to get married, then I'm out. Because I just don't have the patience. And that's kind of just how I've been, you know, since that switch kind of flipped. It's like, I don't have the time or the energy or the patience to deal with something that doesn't line up with my vision of happiness. And I'm not saying compromise isn't important. That is always going to be important, especially in marriage. But, you know, there's a fine line between compromise and putting your needs aside. Do you know what I mean? And letting people walk all over you. So, you know, you have to be self-aware and discerning enough to know where that line is and, you know, follow your intuition and just make sure that you never feel taken advantage of. You know what I mean? And the second that you do, you need to like voice that and demand change or else. Because I think one of the biggest things that again changed for me was that I wasn't afraid to leave. I wasn't afraid to walk away at any given moment. Not because I didn't love my husband with all of my heart. Not that it wouldn't like crush me if, you know, things didn't work out. But because I knew that the end result would hurt even more. Because it has in the past. I knew that it would be less painful to walk away from something like on my own terms than it would to, you know, push my own needs aside and just do what is best for the other person over and over and over and over and over again for the rest of my life. Like, that just is a miserable existence. And I've been there so many times for so long, and it is exhausting, and I don't wish that on anyone. And if you're in that situation right now, you need to do your best to break yourself out of that, because it doesn't get better and it doesn't end until you stop it, until you change that. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop because my voice needs a break. But if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. I think I found myself really enjoying making these videos every week. You know, I feel like they're very cathartic for me, and you know, I'll definitely make more. And I also feel like I'm getting a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, because, which is ironic, because I was an actress for 10 years. But this just somehow feels so much more raw and vulnerable. And don't get me wrong, I was still really, really nervous in front of the camera when I was an actress. I just didn't have a choice, so I just dealt with it. Anyway, this is where I leave you. Thank you again for watching, and